We were halfway home when she said it. Not loud, not even dramatically, just casual, soft, almost sweet. Did you remember to turn on the porch light, Alex? Alex. She said it like she'd said it 100 times before. Like that name belonged to me. It doesn't. I didn't respond. Didn't flinch. Didn't grip the steering wheel any tighter. Just kept my eyes on the road, hands at 10 and 2, breathing slow. There was a beat of silence, maybe 2 seconds, maybe 20, and then she corrected herself. I mean, babe. Sorry. Just tired. That whine hit harder than I thought. She gave a little laugh. The kind she uses when she wants to smooth over something. A tiny exhale with a smile at the end. I nodded. Didn't look at her. Just said, yeah. That's all. She didn't say anything else after that. Turned her head toward the window, watched the lights roll by in silence. But me? My ears were ringing. Alex. It's not a name you just slip into conversation. Not when you're talking to your husband. We don't have a friend named Alex. No coworkers, no neighbors, no family. Not in our world. So who the hell is Alex? And why does his name come out of my wife's mouth like second nature? I didn't ask. Not yet. But the second she said it, the second those 2 syllables hit the air, my mind started spinning like a slot machine that just got kicked too hard. Names, faces, voices, patterns, little things I'd ignored over the past few months. Moments I'd shrugged off as stress, bad sleep, her being distant. Now they were all lining up. And for the next 20 minutes, while she sat quietly looking out her window, I drove, and I thought, and I started pulling threads. The first thing that hit me, her phone. Over the past couple of months, it started living face down. On the counter, on the table, on her lap. Not always, just often enough for me to notice. She used to leave it face up, plugged in, open, forgotten. Now it vibrated quietly, then stayed quiet. Once, I picked it up to move it while she was cooking. The screen lit up, she flinched, turned around and said, "You scared me." I didn't question it. Why would I? It was a reflex. But now, in this car, with that name echoing in my skull, that flinch feels louder than anything she's ever said. Alex. Who the hell is Alex? She's never mentioned him. Not once. But people don't say names by accident. Not like that. Not when you're sober enough to drive home from a dinner party. Not when you're looking at your husband and still saying someone else's name like it fits. And if she slipped, that means she's said it before. Enough times that it's become muscle memory. Which means this isn't new. Another thread, her mood swings. Some nights, she'd come home light as air. Smiling. Playful. Music in the background. Wine in her hand. Other nights, cold. Distant. Eyes unfocused. Like her body was here, but the rest of her wasn't. I chalked it up to work stress. Family pressure. Hormones. All the typical things husbands tell themselves when they don't want to dig too deep. Now I wonder if those shifts were timed. The good nights, right after she saw him. The bad ones, when she couldn't. She started buying new clothes. Things she never wore around me. Stuff still in the dry cleaner's plastic bag, never hung in our closet. I'd ask, "What's this for?" She'd laugh. "Just needed to freshen up my wardrobe." I believed it. Because belief is easier than suspicion. And I wasn't trying to catch her. I was just trying to keep things steady. But you can't hold a house together when the foundation's already cracked. Her schedule changed too. Little shifts. Yoga class moved to evenings. Brunches that ran long. Co-workers' birthdays that turned into "might crash at Julia's, it's getting late." And now, thinking back, none of those things had photos. No tagged stories. No group texts I was shown. Just words. And I trusted her words. Because that's what love is, right? You trust the version they give you. But now, my brain won't shut up. Now every memory is a frame in a film I never paid attention to the first time. How she looked at her phone at dinner tonight. How she got quiet when someone brought up a trip they took last month. A trip she said she couldn't join because she was exhausted. How her face tensed when someone asked, "So what's next for you two?" And I answered. And she didn't. We're 15 minutes from home. She hasn't said a word since Alex. She thinks she saved herself with that little correction, "babe." She thinks I didn't hear it. Or worse, she thinks I'm the kind of man who'll hear it, ignore it, and carry on. Maybe I am. Maybe I was. But right now I'm remembering everything. And all of it is pointing to one thing. This didn't just start. This wasn't a slip of the tongue. This was a crack in the surface, deep enough to let everything underneath spill out. I gripped the wheel. Not tight. Just firm. 12 more minutes. Do I ask her? Do I say his name? Do I even want the answer? We were at the Talbots'. Big house. Good food. Too many candles. It was one of those couples nights, people we've known for years, with new names I barely remembered joining the mix. There were 8 of us total. For couples. Some married. Some dating. Some playing the long game with open smiles and buried contempt. Haley was glowing that night. Everyone said so. She wore that emerald green dress I hadn't seen in a year. I didn't even know she still had it. Fit her better now than it used to. And I remember thinking, damn, she looks happy. Not at me. Not for me. Just happy. There was a guy at the table I didn't know. Tall. Loose blazer. Comfortable in his own skin. Introduced himself as Alec. Not Alex. Alec. I shook his hand, made the usual small talk. Didn't think much of it. But now, behind the wheel, 12 hours later, I wonder, was it Alec? Or did she mispronounce? Because when she said Alex in the car, it didn't sound wrong coming from her mouth. It sounded familiar, like it had already worn a groove on her tongue. Back at the dinner, Alec made a lot of jokes. He was the funny one, self-deprecating, clever, the kind of humor that makes people lean in without realizing they're doing it. She laughed at almost everything he said, tossed her hair back once. I remember that. Not because of the gesture itself, but because she never does that around me. She touched his arm during one of the stories. Quick. Just a light tap. A gesture of, you're ridiculous. But contact is currency. And I noticed it now. She sat next to me. But her body leaned his way most of the night. I didn't say anything. Didn't even realize I noticed until now. But I did. I remember her asking about his job. He said something vague, something crypto, something investing, something Web3 that no one really questioned. She lit up a little. Started throwing out words like blockchain and tokenomics. Since when did she know those? I remember she once rolled her eyes at me for trying to explain Bitcoin. Now she was speaking like she held stock in the language. He grinned at her. Said something like, maybe I should bring you on. She laughed. I laughed too. No? I want to go back and watch her eyes in that moment. Because eyes say what lips won't. As we left, I remember Alec, or Alex, giving her a hug. Longer than the others. Not inappropriate. Just familiar. She smiled. Then turned to me like nothing had happened. And it didn't. Not really. Not that night. But somewhere in there, something was born. Or maybe it had already started. Maybe the dinner was just the first time I saw the shadows. Either way, she said his name in the car. And now, all I can see is that dinner. And the look on her face when he made her laugh. Not at the joke. At him. Alex. I said it in my head at least 50 times since she dropped it. Tried different tones. Different inflections. Tried to make it sound innocent. It didn't. There's something about that name, smooth, quick, familiar. Not dramatic like Sebastian. Not heavy like Mark. Just easy. Like it slides into place where it doesn't belong and pretends it always lived there. I kept thinking about that guy from the dinner, Alec. Was she trying to say his name? Did her brain twist it in the moment? Or was it Alex all along, someone different, someone real, and that dinner was just a distraction? She never said she knew Alec before. Said he was a friend of Lauren's husband. But now I can't stop thinking, was that really their first time meeting? Or was that their first time being seen? There's a difference. I start digging in my head. Where else have I heard Alex? One night she was watching a show on the couch, half laughing, texting. Said it was a group chat from work. I saw the screen from the hallway. The bubble said, A. Just that. No name. Just the letter. Didn't think twice. Now I'm wondering how many times A showed up. Then there was that brunch 2 months ago. She came back late. Said she stayed longer to help a friend get home, someone who drank too much. She said his name. At the time, I didn't catch it. But what if it was? I gripped the wheel tighter for the first time tonight. What if Alex isn't new? What if I've been shaking his hand, or smiling at his texts, or hearing his name in background noise for months? And just never heard it clearly? She's scrolling her phone now. Next to me. Quiet. Calm. Probably pretending I didn't notice anything strange. Her screen glows in the corner of my eye. I don't look, but I can see her thumb move, slow, careful. She's not reading news. She's checking something. Messages? His? She looks up at me suddenly, maybe feels the tension. You okay? She asks. I nod once. Yeah. Tired. She doesn't push. Just goes back to her phone. I resist every urge in my body to say, who's Alex? But I don't. Because once I say it, everything changes. There's no going back from that question. Not because I can't handle the answer, but because I already know it. Not details, not facts, but the truth? Yeah, I know it. And she knows I know. That's what's so loud in the silence between us. I don't need her to say it out loud. Not yet. I just need to hold the wheel a little longer. Until we get home. The road stretched on like it had no intention of ending. Flat, empty. One long stretch of nothing between where we were and where we used to be. Haley shifted in her seat. Not much. Just a little twist of the shoulder, like she was uncomfortable. Or maybe trying to act casual. I caught it from the corner of my eye. She was fidgeting, the way people do when they know something's off but don't want to be the first to name it. I didn't say a word. Just kept driving. Calm. Slow. Smooth. She checked her phone again, then turned the screen off and let it sit in her lap. That was new. Usually she clutched it like a lifeline. Now it looked like it burned her hand. I waited. Nothing. She glanced at me once. Quick. I saw it, that half-second flicker, just long enough to search my face for a signal. I gave her none. No raised brow. No clenched jaw. Just the road. The humming tires. My hands steady at the wheel. She looked away again. The silence started to ache. Not like awkward silence, the cheap kind between strangers or bored couples. This one was surgical. It cut. She crossed her legs. Then uncrossed. Started rubbing the side of her thumb. A habit I hadn't seen in a while. She used to do it when she was nervous before job interviews. Or when her dad called with bad news. I watched her do it now, like she was trying to wear down the skin until something else hurt more. Still, I didn't ask. Didn't press. Didn't rescue her from the hole she was digging with every passing minute. That's the thing no one tells you about silence. It doesn't always need to be broken. Sometimes, it does the work for you. She cleared her throat. You're really quiet, she said. I nodded once. Just tired. Second time I've used that tonight. She didn't buy it. I could tell. But she wasn't ready to challenge it. Because deep down, she knew something slipped back there. She just didn't know how much I caught. Or worse, how long I've been catching everything she thought I missed. We hit a red light. First one in miles. I stopped. Slowly. No brake slam. No tension. We just sat there. No music. No podcast. No outside noise. Just the engine, the blink of the turn signal, and two people trapped in a car that used to feel like home. She looked out her window. I looked straight ahead. That's when it hit me. She's not scared I'll accuse her. She's scared I won't. Because if I say nothing, that means she doesn't get to explain. No chance to twist it. To fake confusion. To offer the crying, shaking apology she's probably rehearsed in case it ever came to this. And I don't want it. I don't want her apology. I don't want a breakdown. I don't want another story about how things just got confusing and we were in a weird place and it didn't mean anything. I want her to sit in this silence. Because this silence? It's honest. More honest than anything she's told me in months. More honest than her smile at dinner. Than her excuse last week about staying late at work. Than the hand she rested on my arm earlier, pretending everything was still fine. The light turned green. I pressed the gas. We moved forward. And I thought, if I keep driving long enough, maybe she'll confess. Or maybe she won't. Maybe she'll convince herself I didn't hear it. That I'm just moody. That we'll get home, go to bed, and by morning, it'll all be gone. She doesn't know me anymore. She doesn't know that I heard every syllable. That I recognized the weight behind Alex. That I felt the split happen clean and permanent, right there behind the wheel. We're 8 minutes from home. And with each passing mile, I'm not sure if I want the truth. Or if I'm better off watching her try to hold it in now. Until she breaks. We were 5 minutes from home. I knew the streets by heart. Left at the gas station, right past the church with the broken clock, straight through 2 quiet intersections where nothing ever happens. My hand twitched once on the wheel. Not much, just enough to make me aware of it. My body wanted to act. Say something. Start it. End it. But my mind? It said, not yet. She shifted again in her seat. Crossed her arms. A small defense. A subtle shield. I knew that move. It wasn't because she was cold. It was because she was bracing. She felt it. She knew something was coming. She just didn't know how or when. And maybe that's why I held it back. Not because I was scared of the answer, but because I wanted her to live in this space just a little longer. That unbearable pause. The quiet where everything echoes. I turned onto our street. Dark. Still. Houses lined up like sleeping animals. Ours was third on the left, porch light on, just like I'd asked earlier. Did you remember to turn on the porch light, Alex? There it was again, echoing in my skull. I could say it right now. Turn to her, meet her eyes, ask it clean. Who's Alex? 3 words. That's all. But I didn't. Because once I asked, the illusion was over. Not just hers. Mine too. I wouldn't get to pretend anymore. Wouldn't get to imagine that maybe, just maybe, this was a mistake. A slip. A name from a podcast. A memory glitch. No. Once I said it, it would all be real. And I think part of me wanted a few more minutes. Not to avoid the truth, but to own the moment. Because when you know something they don't know you know, you have the upper hand. And in this car, in this quiet, for the first time in months, I was in control. So I didn't speak. I let the car roll forward. Let the tires whisper across pavement. Let her look out the window and pretend she wasn't falling apart inside. She said, softly, "You're being really quiet tonight." 3rd time. That's how I knew she was reaching. I smiled. Not wide. Not mean. Just enough to show her I heard. Just thinking, I said. And I was. Thinking about how fast this all changed. From dinner and laughter and a borrowed green dress, to the sound of someone else's name slipping through her lips like it belonged there. We pulled into the driveway. I turned off the engine. The silence that followed felt heavy, final. She unbuckled her seatbelt. Waited. Didn't open the door. Didn't move. Like she knew I still had something left to say. But I didn't give it to her. I opened my door. Stepped out. Closed it gently. Walked to the front of the car. And then, from just outside her window, I looked at her and said, just loud enough, "You coming? Or do you need to text him first?" Her face went white. She opened the door slowly. Didn't answer. Didn't need to. Because silence. Her silence now was everything I needed to hear. She didn't say anything when we stepped into the house. No fake yawn. No, thanks for driving. No offhand joke to cut the air. She dropped her purse by the door, not her usual spot, and kicked her shoes halfway off. Her movements were slow, stiff, like someone walking through a dream that just turned cold. I went straight to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water. She hovered near the stairs like she didn't know where to go. She looked at me. "Do you want to talk?" I didn't answer right away. Took a sip. Set the glass down. "Do you?" She hesitated. That half-second pause where a lie fights with the truth and neither comes out clean. "I don't know what you think you heard," she said softly. I smiled at that. Not cruel, just tired. "You said Alex." Her lips pressed into a line. Her eyes flicked down. "Right," she whispered. "That name doesn't belong here." She nodded. Slowly, like someone accepting a sentence. I waited. She didn't speak. And that's when I realized she didn't have a story ready. No backup lie. No timeline. No, it's just a guy from work. She thought I didn't hear it. Or she thought I'd never ask. Now that I had, she was standing there with nothing to hold on to but the weight of her own guilt. She started, then stopped. Then again, quieter. I didn't mean to. I nodded. Yeah, that's the part that always stings the most. She finally moved. Came a few steps closer. It's not like that. It didn't go that far. I raised an eyebrow. He's not what? She bit her lip. Someone I love. Wrong answer. Not someone I slept with. Not someone I shouldn't have talked to. Not someone I regret. Just not someone I love. Which meant everything else was still on the table. I didn't speak. Let her sit in the echo of her own words. "You've been distant," she said. "For months." I almost laughed. Don't turn this into a team sport. I'm not blaming. You are. And it's fine. Just don't pretend you're not. She sat on the edge of the couch, like her legs couldn't hold her anymore. "I don't know what I'm doing," she whispered. "That," I said, "is the first honest thing you've said tonight." We sat in silence again. Not the same one from the car. This one was heavier. Real. I watched her shoulders slump. Hands trembling. Eyes darting, like she was scanning the room for a way to rewind time. But there isn't one. When you cross that line, even once, there's no edit button. Just the tape rolling on, burned into memory. And me? I wasn't angry. Not in the traditional sense. I was just done. Done hoping. Done guessing. Done trying. Whatever she thought she was saving, it was already gone. And now she knew it. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. Not yet. But her silence said enough. She was falling apart. And for the first time in a long time. I wasn't going with her. I stood in the kitchen for a while. She sat on the edge of the couch, frozen in place like the floor might crack if she moved. I didn't offer comfort, didn't ask questions, didn't try to fix what was never mine to fix. Instead, I looked at the time. 11:47 p.m. I pushed back from the counter, walked past her slowly. She didn't look up. I climbed the stairs without a word. Not fast, not dramatic, just steady, like someone walking out of a room that had nothing left to say. In our bedroom, the air felt different, lighter. I don't know if it was real or just something in my head, but the silence here didn't press down on my shoulders the way it had before. I grabbed an old t-shirt from the dresser, folded back the blanket, slid into bed. I didn't check my phone, didn't scroll, didn't replay the conversation downstairs. Because there wasn't one. She had nothing. And honestly, that said everything. I stared at the ceiling for a while, thought about how many nights I'd laid here before, wondering why she felt so far away, even when she was 6 inches from my body. The space between us hadn't started tonight. It had been growing slowly, like a hairline crack in a windshield. Invisible at first, then unavoidable. Now, the glass had shattered, and I didn't flinch. Because deep down, part of me had been waiting for this. Not hoping for it, not wanting it, but preparing. You know something's off long enough, you stop needing proof. You just need clarity. And I finally had it. I didn't hear her come upstairs. She didn't. At least not right away. No footsteps. No door creak. No voice behind me whispering some late-night justification. Maybe she stayed on the couch. Maybe she cried. Maybe she stared at the wall and wondered what to do now. Didn't matter. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't wondering where she was. I wasn't reaching across the bed hoping she'd roll toward me. I wasn't calculating how to hold on. I was just here, breathing, still, alone, but not lonely. And that difference? That was everything. When I finally drifted off to sleep, I didn't dream of her. I didn't dream of anyone. Just quiet. Like the universe had finally stopped whispering questions I didn't want to answer. And in that stillness, I slept better than I had in months. I woke up just after 7. Sunlight was bleeding through the blinds. Soft, muted, not quite ready to warm anything. The bed was empty. She never came up. Not that I expected her to. I sat up slowly. My body felt heavier than usual, but not in a bad way. More like I'd been carrying weight for months and finally set it down. I stretched, cracked my neck, slipped into a hoodie. Then I walked downstairs. She was in the kitchen, still in last night's clothes. Hair tied back, barefoot. There was a mug in front of her, but I could tell she hadn't touched it. When she saw me, she froze. Like a deer caught in headlights, except the car's already passed and she's still standing there. "Morning," she said, voice barely above a whisper. "Morning." I opened the cabinet, grabbed my own mug, poured coffee. Did it all like muscle memory? Like she wasn't even in the room. She watched me. I could feel her eyes. I didn't want to go to bed angry, she tried. I didn't answer. Not because I was angry. Because I wasn't anything. And that terrified her more. I know what I said last night. About Alex. There it was. The name. Finally in daylight. "He's no one," she said quickly. "Just a guy I used to know." "Used to," I repeated. She nodded. "Too fast. I mean, we talked. Nothing happened." I took a slow sip of coffee. "Nothing?" She looked down. "Well, not like that. We messaged. It felt harmless at first. It wasn't. It never meant anything serious." I raised an eyebrow. "You accidentally said his name instead of mine." Out loud. In the car. After dinner with friends. Where you were laughing harder than you've laughed in months. She winced. I messed up. I nodded once. Yeah. Silence again. But this time, it wasn't my silence doing the work. It was hers. She didn't try to cry. Not yet. But her voice cracked when she said, "I don't want to lose you." I put the mug down. Finally looked at her. "You already did." She opened her mouth, then closed it again. And in that moment, I saw it hit her for real. Not the fear of being caught. Not the embarrassment of saying another man's name. Not the guilt. The truth. That I wasn't fighting. That I wasn't giving her away back. And she didn't know what to do with that. She started, then stopped. I turned away. Poured the rest of the coffee into the sink. Rinsed the mug. "Are you going to leave?" I didn't answer. Not because I didn't know, but because it wasn't about leaving anymore. It was about moving forward. And that didn't require a suitcase. It just required a decision. One I'd already made. I packed a bag that afternoon. Nothing dramatic. Just the essentials. A few changes of clothes, my laptop, chargers, a toothbrush. No ceremony. No tension. No noise. She was in the bedroom, sitting on the edge of the bed, watching me do it. She didn't say a word until I zipped the bag shut. Where are you going? Not sure yet. You don't have to leave. I looked at her. Eyes dull. Shoulders slumped. She looked like someone who knew she lost the game before she even understood the rules. I do, I said. Just like that. I shrugged. It didn't happen just like that. You just never noticed it coming. She stood up, walked toward me, slow, careful, like she thought a lighter touch might undo the weight of the last 24 hours. I know I messed up, she said, but you never even gave me a chance to explain. You're right, I said, because I didn't need to hear you lie to me twice. She stopped. I think part of her still believed she could fix it. That if she said the right thing, used the right tone, maybe I'd fold. Maybe I'd yell. Maybe I'd beg. But I didn't. I wasn't angry. I was done. And there's a difference. I walked out to the car. She followed me onto the porch. Can we at least talk later? She asked. Maybe. Will you come back? I looked at her. There was a time when I would have done anything to hear that question. Would have bent over backward to know she still cared. Now it just sounded like another line in a story that didn't matter anymore. I don't know. She looked like she was about to cry, but she didn't. And I didn't stop her. I got in the car, started the engine. She stepped back, folded her arms, stood there like she thought I might change my mind if she looked sad enough. But I'd already changed everything that mattered. As I pulled away, I saw our house in the rearview mirror. Porch light still on, same as it was the night before. The last thing she ever said to me before it all cracked open. Did you remember to turn on the porch light, Alex? That name, that moment, still hanging in the air like fog no wind could move. I checked into a hotel that night. Slept fine. Woke up early. Went for a walk. Bought a black coffee and sat at a bench with no view. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I didn't feel like I was missing something. I didn't feel angry or betrayed or numb. I just felt clear. I didn't burn the bridge. Didn't block her number. Didn't announce the end of the world. Just let it go. She made her choices. I made mine. And that door? The one I closed on the way out? It doesn't get opened again.